a little bit about them as well. I'll let them tell you a little bit about themselves, and I hope you enjoy this active workshop that we are about to partake in. Over to you, ladies.
Ashley, you can talk about yourself first, because Ashley likes to talk about herself all the time. I'm just joking.
Yes, that's my favorite thing to do. Yeah, so as Kelsey mentioned, the center's been open for about 4 years now almost, right? I've been there for almost the duration of the new center. I have done a little bit of overseeing group fitness, overseeing personal training, and now I oversee the wellness programming at the college. So I've kind of wore a few different hats in my time there. The wellness programming has really kind of sparked a passion for me, and I really enjoy it. So I am really excited to chat with you guys today about some different areas of wellness.
Thank you, Ashley. Ashley is doing a great job as wellness manager, and she's really kind of taken that role by the reins and ran with it. So, which is great because we're called the Student Wellness Center. And so we want to talk to you today about self-care, but Student Wellness Center, the college actually built this fabulous facility, and they called it the Student Wellness Center because they recognized that wellness and well-being for students was so important, and that physical fitness was only one factor of wellness and your well-being. So, so that's why we've got it all kind of encompassing, and we have wellness piece and the physical piece. So I'll just introduce myself. So I'm the fitness and wellness program manager, and I have been around for a long time at Fanshawe. So I am actually a former student and a graduate of Fanshawe College in the fitness and health promotion program. And I've come and gone about 3 different times from this facility, working and going off and experiencing and exploring other opportunities in the fitness and wellness world, and then coming back, and each time bringing my knowledge back and making things better. So I have about 25 years experience in the industry. So yes, that makes me very old, even though I know I look very youthful. Thank you. No, I'm just joking. But it does. I have been in the industry for a long time, so I have seen things change, and there is really, what I can say, there is really a push now for the wellness and the looking at a person as a whole and the holistic approach. And it's not just about spending, you know, as much time as you can in the fitness center and working out and dieting and eating healthy and, you know, pushing weights. It's about looking at yourself as a whole and what makes you healthy as a whole and your well-being. So that being said, I'm going to start jumping right in to the presentation of self-care. So in honor of Mental Health Week and wanting to take care of yourself, we wanted to sort of address self-care. And Kelsey was telling me that one of your presenters earlier on this morning was talking about self-care and how that's really important for you to take care of yourself, especially as being an entrepreneur and starting your businesses, because there's a lot of time spent in the beginning really making those businesses great and spending all of your time and energy putting it into that. And although that is your passion, usually that business, you should also be equally as passionate about yourself and your own well-being. So we want to talk about what is self-care, because this can mean something different to all of you. And sometimes self-care can mean being physically active and going to the gym and working out. And maybe that's your thing. Maybe you feel great after you've had a great workout. Maybe you've gone for a walk, you've done some type of physical fitness. Maybe that is your self-care for you. And for some people, self-care is just, you know what, I just want to take 5 minutes to myself, grab a cup of coffee, grab a tea, maybe do some meditation, maybe go to a room away from my children where I cannot hear them and just be zoning out and not hearing, you know, children screaming or wanting you or needing something from you. So self-care is taking care of oneself. So that's taking care of you and all of your needs. And sometimes that's very hard for us, especially when we're students and we're we're, you know, our academics need to be our main focus. And we think that's what I need to do. That's where my focus needs to be. It needs to be on getting good grades. It needs to be on my academics, and this new business or this new entrepreneurship that I'm taking, I need to focus on that. And then I'll take care of myself later. Then I'll have time. Once I finish this, then I'll have time for all that other stuff. Or it's taking care of your family. Maybe you have a family, you got to take care of them, and you quickly forget about what it means to take care of yourself. But it's so important. If you don't take care of yourself, then you cannot you cannot perform well in all of those other areas. You're not going to do great in your academics because you're not feeling great. You're not taking care of yourself. You might not be present all the time for your children, or in the moment for and be focused on your business ideas and things that you need to do if you're not taking care of yourself. So it's taking care of those necessary life-sustaining things that you need to do. So that's the first point, right? Like, we need to sleep, we need to eat, we need to drink, hydrate ourselves. Those are like self-care generally, but we have to take it to the next level. So you can go to the next slide, Ashley. So again, I talked about why is self-care important. Again, it's going to look different, and your journey is going to be different than somebody else's. Self-care looks after your mental health. It looks after your emotional health and your physical health. It can help improve your mood and reduce anxiety that you have, build some resiliency. So that's another large part. In times, especially right now with what we're experiencing in the world, it's so important for us to have that aspect of resiliency. And if we're not taking care of ourselves and our needs, then it's hard for us to deal with stresses and anxiety and pressures that come at us, because we're not taking care of ourselves, and we're not calm, and we can't think straight because we've got too many things coming at us. So it's really important. And it's also important because it's the key in having a good relationship with yourself and respecting yourself. And therefore, if you have a great relationship with yourself, then you can have great relationships with others. So that's the important thing. I know myself, if I'm not, of course, I've chosen the life of fitness. So it's no surprise that activity and fitness is my self-care. So if I'm not active and I don't get that moment for myself to go down into my basement to do my workout, that's my time and my self-care. If I don't have that time and I've missed it a few days in a row, boy, am I a really difficult person to live with. I am not the nicest person. I am not enjoying myself. I can't deal with stresses because that's my stress relief. So when I've got, Zoom calls all day and I've got meetings and I've got work to do, if I haven't taken that time for myself, everything else just seems so much larger than life and hard to tackle. So it's really important to take care of yourself. Next slide. So we kind of broke it down and we looked at it based on the wellness wheel or our wellness pillars or all of the different areas that you can focus. And the reason why we broke it down is because we want you to understand that it's not just about physical. Self-care isn't just about working out. It's not just about fitness. It's about other things. Although we started with physical self-care, it's not what it's about. So physical self-care involves movement of the body. It involves nutrition, sleeping well, getting a rest, and sometimes it's physical touch. Maybe it's sometimes just being close to someone and hugging them or being around. Now, it's obviously hard right now because of COVID and what's happening in the world. But all of the other factors are also equally as important. Sleep is number one. And I have been learning that a lot lately, that sleep is very important. So some examples of physical self-care: going for a walk, having an Epsom salts bath, learning a new dance routine if you like to dance, or just dancing crazy in your living room to silly music, getting enough sleep for sure, and eating nutritious foods. So diet is also very important for self-care because it fuels your body, fuels your brain, and also makes you feel great. Next slide. So psychological self-care is learning new things and practicing mindfulness activities and creativity. So in here, you can think about reading books. Some people like to read books and learn new things. Journaling, writing is a great activity for self-care, just to write out things, get things out of your mind. If you've got some ideas, how many of you on this call wake up in the middle of the night with ideas in your head? Or maybe I'm the only crazy one, and you think, oh my gosh, I got to write this down. Like, I'm sure all of you, because you're all creative and enthusiastic people on this call. And so you probably do. And so journaling is great, writing that down, thinking out all those ideas and feeling like you know what, I have it in that spot. I've been writing about it. I've been thinking about those ideas. I can touch on those later. Getting it off of your brain, that sometimes is just self-care. Because I do know people that have this running checklist in their brain that they constantly are thinking about stuff and their anxiety, and then that's another thing to add to their checklist. And journaling is a great way to do that. Again, we talked about reading a book, learning new skills. That's another area that I love for myself for self-care, is just learning something new. When I feel like I'm in a rut and I'm doing the same thing, I get energized by taking a new certification, learning something new, reaching out, expanding my thoughts and my brain, and doing a digital detox. So sometimes just getting away from all of the stuff, getting away from Zoom calls and meetings and your phone and all of that stuff, just getting away from it all. Next slide. So this is really, I think for me, this is probably one of the most important things. One of the most important areas is emotional self-care. And I think we don't do this enough for ourselves. So navigating our emotions, managing our stress, developing compassion for others, but most importantly here is developing compassion for yourself. Letting yourself off the hook sometimes for things, and being forgiving of yourself. And I'm assuming in this group, you are very driven and you have high expectations for yourself and entrepreneurship. So you probably don't forgive yourself very often if there's something on that checklist that you haven't checked off, or if you're not driven, or you're not spending all this time on all of your projects. So in this, self-care is practicing gratitude as well. So not looking at the world through that lens of, especially now, we could look at the world in a very negative view right now, but instead of, switching that and looking at the world with gratitude right now, with everything that's going on, we have each other, we have ourselves on the Zoom talk, we're able to talk and learn about self-care, thinking about, the fact that we have running water and some places don't have that. And the fact that we have food on our tables, and, and we do have the ability to have the technology to see each other on camera. So trying to look at the gratitude and being grateful for the things that we do have, as opposed to what we don't have right now, and putting that positive spin. Another really important thing, and this is also something that I struggle with on a regular basis, is saying no. How many of you here have a problem saying no to things? Like, exactly, hands up, double hands, I'm up in the air. It's, especially if you're a caring individual, if you enjoy doing a lot of things, it's hard for you to say no. But sometimes that's practicing self-care, and that's respecting your own boundaries. And a lot of the times we don't respect our own boundaries, and that can cause anxiety and stress for us later on in our life. So, and in other things, it just carries forward. So saying no now, I talk about that, but I would hate it if my children said no to me all the time. If I asked them to do something, if I said, could you really help me out and empty out the dishwasher? And they would say, no, that is not respecting my boundaries. I don't want to do that. So I have to understand that there are certain things that come along with that. But again, saying no, and I do have a hard time with that. I could be, working like crazy doing on a lot of projects, and then, you know, somebody asks me to do something else, and it's hard for me to say, no, I can't quite fit that in, because we are human, and we just naturally want to help, and we want to do things for people. So I know I harped on that a lot, but maybe it's because it's my own things that I'm dealing with right now, my boundaries, but if I'm feeling it, probably somebody else out there is feeling it too. Okay, next slide. Social self-care. So this is a difficult one right now, but it's also so very important, because we're very isolated right now. We're in lockdown. It's hard for us to connect. So we want to make sure that we have that support group and network of relationships around you that you can connect with. So belonging to online groups right now, if you can, at this time, of course. When we're not in this situation, we're not in lockdown, maybe reaching out and being a part. I'm sure all of you, you're meeting each other for the first time on this call. You're getting to know each other, but you know, I'm sure you just can't wait until you can be, you know, around each other and interact. And sometimes we need that. We need that social self-care, that connection. Honoring commitment to other people. That's part of your social self-care, and asking for help. That's also a big thing. So as much as you need is saying no sometimes, also hard to ask for help. And I'm also guilty of that too. So as much as you can stay connected, as much as we are so caught up in Zoom and meetings and always on our phone and social media, right now, that's the way we can connect with people. And over, you know, during COVID, we oftentimes would connect. We would just have little cocktail parties with our friends on Zoom. Not that I'm in, you know, promoting drinking and whatnot, but you know, you could have little gatherings. We would have game nights too. Like we would just have game nights and play Yahtzee on Zoom and whatever else. And those are kind of fun as well. Okay, next slide. So professional self-care. So this is something that's interesting for you right now. So having clear professional boundaries while living out your purpose. So right now, you guys are really focusing on your professional life, your entrepreneurship, you know, creative ideas. So making sure that you have a clear understanding of, you know, what your path is, what your passion is, what you're looking for. It's hard when you've got so many ideas, and I'm sure everybody has lots of ideas going on, and it's hard to funnel that into, you know, one focus. So that's one thing, having that professional focus, but then also being able to negotiate your needs as well. Also being able to speak on your behalf and what your professional boundaries are. So you also have, you know, personal boundaries, but then there's also professional boundaries. And sometimes that becomes very difficult when you're starting in new roles, new positions. It's very hard to create those boundaries. And making sure that you're attending your classes, completing your assignments, and professional development, being on these types of calls and learning. So make sure you're taking care of yourself, and you're getting all that organized and having that clear path for yourself, and so you can live out your purpose. Okay, and last part is your spiritual self-care. So spiritual self-care is going to mean something different to everyone again. So it involves the beliefs and values that are important to you, and that guides your life. So for some people, spiritual self-care can be religious aspects. For some people, self-care is about meditating, you know, and meditating for yourself, and that's very spiritual. That goes along with yoga as well. A lot of people who practice yoga, that is their spiritual self-care, and being able to become one. I always say this term, one with their inner self. I can never become centered. Whenever I do a yoga class, my mind always thinks that I should be doing something else. I can't focus. I can't become one with my inner self and become centered. So, but for a lot of people, that's very spiritual. So we talked about journaling earlier, but you can do reflect. You can reflect in journaling as well. So you can think back on moments or situations in your life, and reflect on moments, and that can be very spiritual as well. And walking in nature. I know that sounds very, very different, but nature has this healing effect, and it can be very good for your spirit and spiritual. I don't know about anybody else, but right now, you know, if it wasn't always so, 20 degrees one day, 1 degree the next day, I would be outside all the time, just out in the path and walking around in nature, and soaking up the sun. So that's also very important for your spirit and self-care. So to wrap up this sort of segment, before we talk about some nutrition, if you go to the next slide. So here's some things that you can do, and it's just a self-care check-in. And these are some of the things. This is a running checklist, not that you need another checklist going on in your brain, but this is a daily checklist that you can think of, just questions to ask yourself to make sure that you're being accountable for your own self-care. So you can think of things like, how have you been practicing self-care today? What have you done for yourself today that is practicing good self-care for you? Have you smiled a little bit today? Have you stopped to think about something that brings you joy? Have you smiled about it? Have you laughed at something funny that your children have done, or something silly that you've done for yourself? Have you eaten today? That's a big one, because sometimes we get busy in our work and doing things and we forget to eat. Have you eaten in the last 3 hours? That's also a key thing. So maybe you've eaten today, but it was, breakfast this morning, and now it's 4 in the afternoon, and you haven't thought about eating for the whole day. Are you hydrating throughout the day? Are you giving yourself water? Have you stretched or moved today? How long have you been sitting in that chair? Have you gotten up? Have you moved? Which we're going to help you with later on in today's presentation. But have you moved your body? Have you gone out for a walk? Have you stood up? Have you stretched? Have you taken a moment to breathe deeply, just to, not yawning because you're tired, but a deep breath just to kind of relax yourself and calm yourself? And have you gotten at least 7 hours of sleep? How much sleep did you get last night? How much sleep do you think you're going to get tonight? And try and plan for that. So these are just some good self-care check-ins on a daily basis. Aside from all the other, physical, all those things, this just kind of hits all of those main things that you need to do just to sustain life-sustaining things: eating, sleeping, drinking, movement of the body, all of those wonderful things. And if you can hit all of these questions, if you can answer them and say, yes, I've done that, then you're off to a good start. So that's it for me for self-care. Feel free, again, anybody, you can ask questions and jump in. If you have any comments or anything, feel free to jump in. It's, we like to engage as well. Ashley's going to take it over, and she's going to talk about some healthy eating and some nutrition and eating tips. And we'll go from there. Ashley, over to you.
All right. So Jody and I have found a lot lately that we are talking about nutrition in a lot of different ways. It's been something that's come up a lot while people are at home. So we wanted to kind of give you a quick overview of what healthy eating is, and some tips to incorporate healthy eating into your life. So what is healthy eating? You'll see on this screen a variety of different foods. Basically, healthy eating is eating a wide variety of foods that give you the nutrients and the energy that you need to maintain your health, to feel good, to get the things done each day that you need to get done. Because in the entrepreneurial space, you likely have a to-do list a mile long all the time. So giving yourself fuel to get those things done. Generally, when we think healthy eating, we think about consuming whole foods, foods that are as close as possible to their original form. Fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, like chicken, lean beef, fish are really good options. And then looking to plant-based oils or plant-based sources of protein if you choose to follow that vegetarian style, which things like legumes, beans, chickpeas, those kinds of things to get that protein in. We ideally want to consume little to no processed foods. Processed foods generally come in packages, and generally they don't resemble anything that came from the earth, was grown, or anything like that. So avoiding those as often as we can, or minimizing what we're choosing to eat from a processed food standpoint. So maybe you're choosing to eat some things that are a little more processed, but you're making healthier choices in other areas. And then focusing on what you're drinking, on beverages. This is something that a lot of people forget about when they are looking at nutrition as a whole. Focusing water is always a good go-to, but things like teas are good options, coffees are good options. Avoiding loading them up with sugar if you can is the best option. But there are other things, other opportunities to choose healthy beverages that is not just water. You can also look at putting things in your water. Fruits and vegetables are sometimes add a little bit to your water if you don't like to drink just plain water. I want to touch briefly here on the difference between macronutrients and micronutrients. Macronutrients, you've probably heard that term macros, which is very in right now. But basically that is a fancy way to say carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Those are the big three that you need. They're called macronutrients because you need them in larger quantities in your diet. They are essential for a lot of things. Carbohydrates generally get broken down into glucose in the body, which is fuel for your brain. Your brain generally works best on glucose, as well as a variety of other body functions as well. Your muscles work on glucose as well. And there's a whole lots of other functions in your body that use glucose as a base. Proteins are very structural in nature, so they help keep the integrity of your cells, which you can see in your skin. Proteins are in those muscles that you may be working to build. Protein's very important if you're looking to build muscles. And it's also important in the regulation and function of a lot of different body tissues and organs, things that you don't necessarily think about and things you don't have to do anything about. Your body just naturally does. Those functions, protein plays a big role in. Fats is the final macronutrient, and they are our storage space. So that's where we store our energy is from fats. We store a little bit of energy in our muscles and liver from carbohydrates, but the bulk of it is actually stored from fats. They're very energy dense, and they provide you a lot of good energy, especially when you're choosing those healthy fat options.
I'm storing a lot of that right now. Just so you know. It's easy to store a lot of that right now.
It is. There's actually some research that suggests that there's no cap on that storage system in your fat cells. Like there's no top out. It'll just keep going if you keep filling those stores.
Yes, COVID-19 is for a reason. 18 pounds that I've gained. That's why they put the number with it.
Yeah. Micronutrients. So these are things that you need in smaller quantities. That's why you see the micro in front. These essentially are your vitamins and your minerals. It's not something people tend to think about as much when it comes to nutrition, but they're super important. So you only need them in small quantities, but without them, there's a lot of things in your body that won't happen or won't happen properly. Energy production, immune system function, blood clotting, growing, your bone health, fluid balance, the list goes on and on and on for things that vitamins and minerals play a role in. The best place to find vitamins and minerals is in those whole food options. options, your fruits, your vegetables, your whole grains. Dairy products are a good option for calcium. They tend to be high in calcium, so that's where your bone health comes in. So as much as people tend to forget about micronutrients, they are very important. And I would encourage you to focus on those whole foods so that you're getting those micronutrients. If you are eating an overall well-balanced diet, you shouldn't have to worry about not getting your macro or your micronutrients. They should be encompassed in that whole food that you're eating, as long as that diet is fairly well-balanced. If there's areas of your diet that you think might be lacking, that's when you can start to pay attention to those certain areas and maybe up some of the intake of specific nutrients in those areas. Why is healthy eating important? I mean, we generally know that healthy eating helps to maintain weight. It helps to reduce your risk of chronic disease. So these would be things like obesity, cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes. Those are the big kind of three right now that you hear about all the time. And although most of you are still fairly young, you're probably not worrying about those things right now. If you can focus on bringing healthy eating into your lifestyle now, you can hopefully prevent those things from happening in the future. So that's sometimes something that the younger generation tends to forget about. Oh, well, I'm not there yet. That's not me. But starting now can help those things in the future. It also helps improve your mood and boost your energy. I don't know about you guys, but if I eat a meal from some sort of fast food restaurant, you don't feel energized and upbeat and full of life when you finish. You feel kind of down in the dumps and like you don't have that oomph you need to get through your day. So it definitely does make a difference what you're eating when it comes to mood and energy.
It also improves your mood because you're not hangry. Like
That's true too.
angry when you're hungry. When you're hungry, you need to eat. That anger feeling, like, get out of my way, I need to eat. That's where I think about the mood. I think about my positive mood.
Yeah. And the last point there, improves learning, memory, and concentration. So you actually are less able to focus generally if you're hungry, or you're not fueling your body with good, healthy nutrients. It does make a difference. Many years ago, I would have said, no, it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm eating, right? But it does make a difference. And if you start eating healthy and then you don't for a day or two, you can feel those things start to change. So healthy eating is important for a lot of reasons. This is just a small selection. There's lots more that we could talk about, but those are kind of the big ones, the main ones that you hear about most of the time.
I just want to add about your comment when you're talking about carbohydrates, like the macronutrients.
Yep.
And you were talking about the glucose and how that fuels your brain and fuels like all of these other things that happen in your body. It's like gives you that energy and fuels your body. So that's really important to kind of remember when you hear about all these low carbohydrate diets and, keto and all of these things. So that's not to say that you still can't get carbohydrates in we think of carbohydrates in the true sense of like breads and pastas and rices and those types of things. People think about that, but there are other forms of carbohydrates. So it's just something to think about to make sure that with your well-balanced diet, when you start hearing about these low carbohydrate type of diets, I know myself, I mean, again, I've been in the industry for 25 years, so I've experimented with every type of diet, exercise, anything that you can imagine. And I 100%, when I was always trying to do the low carbohydrate, I felt I couldn't focus. I couldn't function. I was foggy brain half the time. And I wasn't sharp and on my mark. So just be aware of those types of things. And maybe Ashley's going to talk about it a little bit later, but those are just some of the things to keep top of mind.
Your brain doesn't really function well on anything other than glucose. Just to kind of build off what Jody was talking about, that is one thing that it really fuels your brain better than anything else can. So glucose is actually a form of sugar, and it's the best thing to fuel your brain, which is why if you're experimenting with low carbohydrate diets and you're not getting that glucose, you can, like Jody said, start to feel foggy and unfocused and those kinds of things, because you're not giving your brain the fuel that it needs in the form of that glucose. Okay, some healthy eating tips. I'm going to talk a little bit about some general healthy eating tips, and then I'm going to talk about healthy eating tips for when you're eating out. So first, general healthy eating tips, aiming to eat the variety of foods every day. So I know that I am very much a creature of habit. I like to eat the same things all the time because it's easy and I know what I'm getting, but eating a variety of foods is a very big thing to try and include in your diet. It gives you the opportunity to get that wide range of macro and micronutrients in that we talked about. Eating plenty of fruit, vegetables, whole grains, and protein. Those are kind of the big four that you've heard me repeat throughout this. For fruits and vegetables, I try and make a rule to have some sort of fruit or vegetable every time I eat. So breakfast is always a hard one for me because I generally don't eat, but I've been trying to put stuff into my eggs, some vegetables, chop things up. With lunch, maybe you're having a salad or you're having a side salad and something else. And then always having that kind of salad, or maybe you're having a steamed or roasted vegetable on the side with dinner. But even think about your snacks, trying to grab that piece of fruit to have with your cheese and crackers, let's say, or something like that. Trying to focus on getting those fruits and vegetables in every time you eat. Limiting that highly processed food, like we talked about, choosing water as often as you can. Another good practice is to use food labels to compare and contrast different foods. So what I mean by this is if you have 2 boxes of crackers in the grocery store and you're trying to figure out which one to buy, you can always take a look at those food labels and compare them to each other. Maybe one of those cracker options gives you more fiber than the other. That might be a better option to go with. Maybe that's because it's made from more whole grains and less of the more processed grains. So comparing those food labels can be very overwhelming, and we are working on putting together more resources for that because they can be an overwhelming thing to learn how to read properly, but comparing them from one food to another can be a little easier to understand when you see those percent values on the different labels. And then being aware of food marketing. And with this, I always use the example of the bacon. And I don't know if any of you have ever bought a package of bacon in the last little while, but when you buy a package of bacon, there are some brands now that say that it is gluten-free on the package. Bacon has always been gluten-free. Bacon has never had gluten in it, but because gluten-free is one of those crazes right now, they put gluten-free on that package to try and encourage people to buy the product, especially people who are practicing that gluten-free lifestyle. So being aware of those kinds of things on food and how it influences your food choices when you're in the grocery store is really important. It's something that a lot of people don't necessarily think about. But it's something that I've really noticed has kind of taken off in the last few years to, you see those claims on food packages, and sometimes products that are gluten-free, for example, they've pulled out the gluten, but they've put sugar in its place. So being aware of those kinds of things and then looking at those food labels to see, okay, well, if you've taken this out, what have you put in its place?
And light claiming light is also another sneaky one, because sometimes it doesn't mean it's light in calories, it's light in color, but they make it seem like it's light. So that's another common mistake.
Yeah, there is tons of those. I mean, we could talk about those for forever, but there's the gluten-free one is just the one that always jumps out at me on the package of bacon. It makes me laugh every time, but there's lots of those in the grocery stores now. Some tips for dining out. So I know right now we're not eating in restaurants. So this might actually be a little bit easier for people. But when you're eating out, considering portion sizes, this is a big thing. When you go into a restaurant, generally you get served a very large portion, probably bigger or sometimes double what you would eat if you were serving yourself a portion at home. So just be aware of those portion sizes, know that that's what's going to happen, and know that you don't have to clean your plate off. If you feel full halfway through that meal, take the rest of it home. You don't have to eat it all at once. Aiming for that fruit or vegetable, like I said, so sometimes it's in the form of a side salad when you're getting stuff from restaurants like that. Trying to focus on those whole foods or choosing a blend of whole foods if you can. Something that is a little bit less processed, but still processed is still better than the more processed option. So thinking of food on that kind of continuum can help as well. So maybe it's not perfect, but it might be better than the alternative. Choosing water or tea is a good option. Those are pretty safe beverage choices. Sauce on the side is a big one in restaurants. Generally, if you ask for sauce on the side, even if you still use the sauce, you probably will put on less than what they would in the kitchen. That goes for salads, that goes for like the mayonnaise that they might put on your burger or your chicken burger or something like that. Generally, getting it on the side, you will use less of it than they would have if they had prepared it for you. Looking at the menu ahead of time, this is one that we're generally doing right now anyways, because we're ordering takeout anyways. So looking at the menu, deciding what you want ahead of time can be helpful. And then sharing dessert. I know that some people like their dessert. Some people are dessert eaters. My husband loves dessert. But if you can get dessert and share it with someone, that is a big difference. As opposed to ordering 2 pieces of cake for the 2 people at the table or 1 piece of cake for you both. You still get to experience your dessert and you still get that sweet or savory or whatever it is that you're looking for in that dessert, but you're not eating that large amount of calories in what's generally a fairly small dessert. Okay, that's all I had on the nutrition piece.
Okay, so we've got about 10 minutes left and we've got 5 minutes of a meditation at the very end. So 5 minutes and we'll do like a stretch little break here.
Yep.
I see people doing, this. Anyway, so we're just gonna get ourselves stretching.
I'm gonna slide my chair a little bit further away from me here so you guys can see me.
Can I stop your screen share so we can see you guys a little bit better?
Yep.
Perfect. And Ashley, are you leading it?
Yes, I believe so.
Perfect. I'm just gonna spotlight you then.
Okay. So stretching, we post stretch breaks every Wednesday afternoon. So if you're looking for stretch ideas, then our social medias are a good place to go. But we're gonna start with a neck stretch. So just gonna take that ear towards your shoulder. You can just tip your head or you can add a little bit of a pull if you need to feel that down the opposite side. And then we'll switch sides. I'm gonna move through this a little quicker, but generally you wanna hold your stretches about 30 seconds or so. And then coming back up to that center. A big one that I like to do in my chair is the chest stretch. So bringing those hands in behind you and stretching through the front of that chest. That tends to get very tight when you sit hunched over a computer. And then another good one for sitting for long periods is rounding through the back. So it's almost like here, like you're giving yourself a big bear hug. And you'll feel that stretch through the back of your shoulders. And then from the lower body standpoint, crossing that leg over, or that ankle over that knee, you're gonna feel that stretch in through your glute muscles. You can always push that knee towards the floor a little bit if you need to feel that stretch deeper. This is another one that tends to get a little tight when you sit. Your glute muscles get lazy when you sit a lot. And then we'll do the same thing on that other side. And then hamstrings are another one. I'm just gonna tip this down a little bit so you guys can see me. Straight leg out in front of you, and then from your hips, I want you to lean forward and reach towards that shin or that ankle or that toe.
If you have a rolling chair, be careful. You might roll away from you like almost just.
Yeah, good point. I didn't think about that. My rolling chair is downstairs. Other side of your leg there. Then another one that I do a lot throughout the day is a little bit of a twist. So sitting up nice and tall, twisting through, you can grab the back of your chair if that helps. That's just a nice little twist through the spine, which tends to get tight when we sit a lot. And same thing on that other side. And what am I missing, Jody?
We could do a stretch for our tricep and into our.
Up and over the head.
I always like this one. This always helps me.
If you have trouble with your opposite arm, you can always come around in front and push down. Sometimes that depends on your shoulder mobility. And other side.
And then we can do some of the stretches for our forearms and our wrists.
Yeah, so that's another one that that commonly comes with like lots of typing and stuff. So stretching through that wrist and through that forearm. And you can do this both ways. So palm down and then palm facing you as well. Kind of gets the other side of that hand and arm. And same thing on that opposite hand. Stretching all the way up into that arm. And then flipping that palm over so it's facing you. It's just a gentle pull towards you. Stretching, you should be able to feel it, but it should never be painful. And then when you're done your stretches, you can just kind of shake everything out. Shake your wrists out, shake your shoulders out, roll them out, just to kind of get some of that movement going. And you tend to feel better even if you just do a few minutes of that a couple of times a day when you spend a lot of time sitting. I'm going to.
That brings us right to our meditation.
Yep. I'm just going to open that up. Okay, so I'm going to screen share one more time here. Our meditation. Hopefully this works.
Gifting yourself these next few
Can
minutes.
you hear that?
It's important to remember that
Yeah.
Yes.
you're And allowing yourself even just a few short minutes of intentional reflection can really have a positive impact on the rest of your day. So
Actually,
let's use these next few minutes to come back to
Yep.
center.
it's
I'll
pretty
share.
choppy. Can you send me the link and then I'll try screen sharing it?
Sure.
Move into a comfortable position, whether you're seated at your desk at work or laying on the couch at home, and gently close your eyes and shift all of your attention onto your breathing. Per breath,
There.
and your anchor. So far.
Okay, maybe stop it on your end.
All right, can we see that? I actually can't see you, so someone's gonna have to verbally tell me.
Screen's a little
Yes.
blurry. I think we'll get the point.
All right, let's try it out.
Hey there, and thanks for gifting yourself these next few minutes.
That's much better.
To remember that you're a priority, and allowing yourself
You
even
have an
just a
echo.
few
You must
short
have two
minutes
mics on.
of intentional reflection can really
What was that, Dave?
You have an echo. There's getting a lot of feedback. Do you want to just set it like? Oh, I have it. I
Third
think,
time's the charm.
yeah.
If you think the change from you're only a
Add.
Sorry, guys. This was supposed to be relaxing.
It will be.
Exactly. Oh, fun. Stupid thing. I can't find the window now for some strange reason. 1 second. There we go.
try to picture one thing that's happened today that's made
You gotta
you
go back to the
smile,
start, Dave.
or made you thankful, or appreciate.
Kelsey, can you give feedback through? You mind turning your mic off?
Yeah, I will. You have to go back to the
Hey
start.
there,
though.
and
Okay. Yeah, we're good.
thanks for gifting yourself these next few minutes. It's important to remember that you're a priority, and allowing yourself even just a few short minutes of intentional reflection can really have a positive impact on the rest of your day. So let's use these next few minutes to come back to center and set an intention for the rest of your day. Move into a comfortable position, whether you're seated at your desk at work or laying on the couch at home, and gently close your eyes and shift all of your attention onto your breathing, taking slower, deeper breaths than you've taken all day so far. Taking a deep breath in through your nose and slowly letting it out through your mouth. And continuing to breathe that way, feeling your lungs expand out as you inhale and contract back in as you exhale. Tune into your body, noticing how it feels. Noticing if there's anything that it's trying to tell you. Notice any place of tension or tightness in your body. And give those areas permission to relax, sending love into those areas. Thank your body for taking such good care of you, and let it know that it's okay to rest and relax for these next few minutes. You may notice that your mind starts to wander off. That's okay. That's natural. Just notice it and bring your attention back to your body, using your breath as your anchor. Try to picture one thing that's happened today that's made you smile, or made you thankful or appreciative. And just let that feeling fill you up for a moment. Breathe that feeling in from the top of your head to the tips of your toes. And allow yourself to smile if that feels natural. Now focus on something that you can do today, whether it's for yourself or for someone else, that will allow you to continue feeling this way. It could be something as small as deciding to go to bed early tonight so that you have time to finally read that book that's been on your bedside table, or the joy of getting dinner with a close friend. What's one little thing you can plan for your day to bring that intentional joy to it? Now just focus on that for a few minutes. Sit in that feeling of joy and peace. Now let's take a few more deep breaths together. A deep breath in, feeling your lungs expand out as you inhale, and everything contract back in as you exhale. Again, an even deeper breath than the one before it, holding that breath for a beat, and exhaling everything out. Last time, your deepest breath yet, sending that breath through your entire body. And exhale it out. And in your own time, slowly bring your awareness back to where you are. And thank yourself for taking these few minutes to just be intentional and kind to yourself. And when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes and enjoy the rest of your day.
And that's all we have. I hope everybody enjoyed that. We're over a few minutes, sorry.
That was wonderful. Thank you both so much. I don't remember the last time I took that time to just breathe. So thank you so much for that personally. And from our whole team, I think that was really lovely. And it's been great to, as we embark kind of on this entrepreneurial journey together, to remember that we need to put ourselves first. We need to take care of our self-care through emotional, spiritual, psychological, and physical health, as well as making sure that we're keeping an eye on our nutrition. Being an entrepreneur or a busy person in general, it's really easy to, grab a bag of Doritos for lunch, but we're going to try and be intentional in this program to not do that and to take body breaks, as I've now been told we are calling them instead of bio breaks, to make sure that we are our best selves as we go forward. So Ashley and Jody, thank you so much for making that a reality for us. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, ladies. I'm very relaxed now.
Perfect.
Good job
So
done.
that video was just was on YouTube. So if you can find lots of meditative videos as well. If you just look up, that was a beginner meditation 5 minutes. So you can find those. And we post a lot of those things on our Facebook page and Instagram as well, because we offer all of our services virtually right now. So we will send that out. And if you're interested, then Kelsey can set it up to all you guys and you can follow us.
Yeah, that'd be great. We'll add Jody and Ashley's contact information to our FOL and if they'd be so kind to send the PowerPoint as well as that video, we'll add those there for you to refer back to if you have any questions or you want to reach out to either of these lovely humans to ask them any questions.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you both. We appreciate you coming.
Kelsey, did you want to take a second here to go over the news that we forgot about yesterday?
Sure, that sounds like a great idea. So one of the things that we forgot to let you know about when we did the Leap In introduction, and that we're really excited to do this year, it's new to Leap In, is that each of you are going to get some help for your business that is going to be funded through a project called Ripen. So we have secured marketers, graphic designers, and a finance specialist to work with each of you one-on-one with your business to help you with certain things. You get a grand total of about 10 hours of their time. So this is by no means a marketing agency that's redoing your entire brand. But if you have questions about building a website, a social media strategy, maybe a logo redesign, want someone to help you set up your books, unless you're Abigail, who obviously has set up all of her own books, want someone to just build you a spreadsheet, we're really excited to be able to offer that service to you. And you'll get to meet these wonderful students who are helping you out in your business on May 31st, I believe is the day that they're joining us. So we'll get to know each other, get you kind of through the first round of the modules that are really about understanding your business. Before you jump in with these people, we want you to really know what you want before you really get to ask them. So we're excited about it. It's going to be really fun. Most of the people helping us are also Fanshawe College students, so you may even know some of them, but they're as far reaching actually as UBC students. So we've got a bit of a mix. There will be 4 kind of teams. One is an individual finance and accounting specialist. So that person will be helping each of you with, about 6 to 8 hours of accounting and finance help, whatever it is that you need. And then we're going to have 3 teams. Each team will have a graphic designer and a marketing specialist. And then they will each have 4 of you as their clients. So these people are doing their co-ops to do this. This is a work integrated learning experience for them. And you get to be either awesome or difficult clients. Either way, it's great work for them, but I hope you'll be nice to them. And you're going to make client contracts with them. You're really going to get a chance to work with a freelancer. So if you've ever had this experience of outsourcing we talked about today, this is a great opportunity for you to practice. So I'm really pumped about it. It looks like by your smiling faces, you're pumped about it. You can take as much advantage of the program as you'd like. And then once we go through this, if the 20 hours that you get is not enough and you really like this work, I will show you how to submit a project of your own so that you could hire these people on for an independent project yourself. It is a government funded program, so it is free, which is pretty sweet. So if you really like the work, you can definitely hire these people on to do some more work for you, as long as you have registered your business. So we'll talk about business registration, but that would be something that you're definitely going to want to take advantage of if you like the experience. So yeah, sorry we forgot to tell you, but good news on day 2. Yay!
Kind of nice to save it for the second day.
Yeah, it's all about wellness and we're talking about it kind of fit actually.
Awesome. Okay, I just want to kind of go through one last thing. I promise you we are approaching the end. I know, give me 1 second here. Yes, the end is near. I just lost my video panel here because I can't see all your lovely faces. Every time I screen share, it disappears. Okay, so I just wanted to just mention the homework again one more time. Business concept statement. Individually, please complete part A, B, C, and D for this. The most important part is the written part of the concept statement, because you're going to need that to turn it into your 1-minute marketing speech if you don't already have one. And we're going to start day 4 with our 1-minute marketing speech. So please come prepared. So take the time to go through this. If you feel you need help with this, happy to stay on, answer any questions today that you might have after or tomorrow as well. Action step 1.3 is all about like taking that business concept, matching it with your personal vision that you did as 1.1. Obviously, there's kind of no guaranteed statistically accurate process to calculate probability that your opportunity will match your vision. but you need a place to start from. So this gives you kind of that mechanism to judge how well your business is meeting your personal vision. So please take the time to go through this survey. It goes through kind of your personal criteria, and you're going to be weighing kind of this business concept, against this, as well as the professional criteria. And then you evaluate how well the business concept matches the vision. So please pay close attention to whether the items you marked with a check or as non-negotiable receive high scores. If not, is there any way that your business can be altered to improve its ability to kind of meet the criteria? You should be asking yourself that. So if those adjustments can't be made, maybe there's a way to kind of do a pivot or look for something a little bit, look for a little bit of change. So again, if you have questions, please stay on and we can chat. And with that, this is just a full list of kind of the stuff that we covered yesterday. Make sure you fill out your guest speaker feedback survey. If you haven't done yesterday's, please go and do that one for yesterday. And for our guest speakers today, we would really appreciate if you could do that. They're really valuable to us, and we get the most out of them when they are completed the same day as the speaker. So again, action step 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 are due for you, not delivered. And then the reading for day 3 is up. It's on FOL. It's called Sizing Up Your Business. Inside that reading, there is a checklist. It's called an internal assessment. If you have some time, please jump into it. It's really quick. It's just kind of checking a bunch of things off. But take a few minutes, take 15 minutes and get into that, because we are going to go into an exercise around that tomorrow. And with that, I say you did it. Congratulations. Day 2 is over. We'll definitely see you back here tomorrow at 1 p.m. And if there's any questions, concerns, we're here and ask away.
We weren't able to go through the thing that we did in our groups yesterday.
Yes.
So I just wanted to know the one that we did with the first exercise that we did there.
Yes.
So it was not a good example because it was too long. It was kind of too lengthy, but it did hit all the points of the who, what, and why. And we had a question, which was, I had a question, which was, how do you hit all the points without being too lengthy?
Right. It's a difficult task to achieve. It depends on the scenario, right? The business concept statement that we create is oftentimes more for our internal business plan, but it is used to be distilled down. So, in a scenario where you're just doing a quick pitch, you don't want it to be more than like 3 sentences, a paragraph at the most. That statement there is meant to give you the room. We always start bigger and then we slim it down. If we start too slim, then we start trying to add a bunch of crap in, and it ends up getting really chunky and our message gets skewed, it becomes off. So it's better to start big and then remove things as they're not needed. Okay, we don't need this much detail. We can summarize that with this. So that was why we started with that example, to show you how lengthy it can be, but obviously you would slim that down for different scenarios. You wouldn't want something quite that long, even on your website homepage, for example, but pieces of that would exist in other spots, right? So all of the content that you would have saw in that example would become useful, but not always in the same scenario. Does that make sense, Ebony?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
No problem. I know, when the first time I read through them, I was like, oh my God, there's a lot of stuff in here, but yeah, it's all contextual. Cool.
And I also wanted to know, do we have access to the slides that you put up?
I can certainly do that. I haven't put them up, but I'd be happy to provide those for you guys.
Yes, that would be great.
It's like Cecilia's having internet troubles here. Yeah,
So,
I will make sure I'll put that up in the homework. I'll put that in the homework tab with each day. I'll send my slides in there.
I was just gonna ask a question. Should we make a larger one and then make maybe another more condensed one? Is that
So basically what we're trying to do, you take that business concept statement and you should be able to read it out. You're going to get a minute to do kind of your marketing speech, whatever form that takes. obviously you don't want to, I don't know, this is going to date me, but talk like the Micro Machine guy and blast through it, meaning talking very, very fast. So try to be concise. It's up to you, Tracy. Like, everyone's business here is different, and there's different complexities that will require different explanations. So it is hard to bucket you all into one scenario. So, but yes, I would start big, talk it out loud, talk it with your husband and anybody else, and see, okay, should this be chopped down a little bit? Does that make sense? There is no right or wrong answer here. This is week 1. So you will go through and edit these statements throughout the duration of the 12 weeks. And the idea is whatever you start with, by the end, hopefully it's something you're a bit more happy with. Usually as an entrepreneur, you're never truly happy with a lot of your stuff. It's always changing and growing. And so hopefully by the end of the program, it's something at least you can live with for, 6 months.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Cecilia, you're back with us? Oh, we can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
Sorry.
There's always one person who has internet trouble every day. This is what we have learned about Leap-In.
And it's not Rachel. Oh my goodness.
Unbelievable.
Awesome. Any other? Oh, Cecilia, you have a question? Type it away. I will wait. If you have to go, feel free to head off into your day. But if you'd like to stick around and hear questions, happy to answer them. Are we going to practice with everyone? Yes, we will. So there's going to be opportunities to both practice where we're all going to listen and you're going to do it in front of us all. And there's also going to be time where you will be with 1 or 2 other individuals in a breakout room and you'll kind of go back and forth a bit. The idea is to have you get feedback from everybody because everyone brings a different kind of point of view, right? So please, and on that note, when it is time for feedback, please listen and try to bring some value to the feedback, because just as much as you're wanting that feedback, so is everybody else for themselves too.
We used to play a game in Leap-In called Value Proposition Roulette, where I would ask someone to basically give me their 1-minute pitch and then call on someone at random to give some pretty comprehensive feedback. I'll likely subject you to that particular brand of treatment as well, but it's a good way. Yeah, I know. It's a good way to make sure you're paying attention. So there's parts where we're talking, there's parts where guests are talking, but the parts where you're sharing with each other, those are generally the parts that become the most fulsome learning. So give them the respect they deserve. And they're fun. It's fun to be able, to be the person offering advice once you've been hearing so much advice for so long.
This is the time to get like that free feedback, right? You usually got to pay people to give you feedback. It's hard to get your customers to give you feedback. So you take advantage of this scenario with these, 11 other people and use that, ask them questions, get feedback on everything, because you might not get the opportunity. And if you're just asking your friends and family, well, they're just being nice. That's honest, right?
Hopefully, anyways.
I have a question sort of about the wellness stuff it's sort of something I've been thinking about for a while, but like a lot of the times wellness programs and things that you can have access to are like linked to your employer. If you're lucky, like, in a typical like 9-to-5 job, you might have some health benefits, and some of that might include like more wellness things. And like as an entrepreneur, it seems like more difficult, to try to figure out, I guess, how to build that into your business or your lifestyle, I guess, and I just maybe was wondering what other people or what, you guys have done to kind of build that in as an entrepreneur, because it's not something that's provided to you, I guess, by a traditional employer. Yeah.
It's a good question. Anyone have an answer?
I can answer that one. Has been something I have been working on for the past like year. Just checking in. I'm like, how do I make a self-care plan? I didn't even know what self-care really meant because I love what I do. So isn't that self-care? And so being able to like even understand what self-care was for me, because meditation was like homework for me because I had to sit and clear my mind or whatever, and I was having a hard time trying to do it. And so like I for like a long time I just kept trying to meditate, and the odd time that it would work, it was great, but then when it wouldn't work, I just get even more frustrated. So I was able to like incorporate walking because I love to walk, and I didn't even realize that that was self-care. Dancing, making it a point to dance, waking up a little bit earlier than my children so that I'll have time to read. I'll have time to kind of like, instead of taking a shower during the day, I take a shower in the morning. Just as an entrepreneur, that's kind of what I wanted, is a lifestyle where I don't have to do everything so structured. So even my self-care wouldn't be self-care to other people. I literally had to find ways that, okay, I'm always sitting down in my chair and I'm never really doing anything. I hate exercising. Okay, but I can walk and I can dance. There's my physical exercise. Instead of trying to find a way to get weights and actually do stuff that I don't want to do. I don't want to do these things. So that's kind of how it's worked out for me within my business, and just doing what I can with what I have. So.
Can I add on to that too? I love what you just said, is doing what you can. I think like everything that's been talked about today is like my jam. I could talk for hours and hours and hours on it, just through personal interest, through school, all that kind of stuff. So if you ever have any questions, feel free to message me privately. But I've found over the years too, like self-care can be as simple as like taking a shower one day. It's like, what can you do for yourself that literally nobody else is expecting of you? And it can change. Like for me, working out or just moving my body is like non-negotiable, because that's how I have to like let go of everything else that's happening. I've got 2 kids who are now at home doing school, and it's like I'm just so annoyed by it. They need to be in school. But I know for me, like to be a good mom and to participate in this training and to, have my own life and everything, there's certain things that I need to do throughout the day. So maybe today it's, you need to go outside for a walk, or you need to like actually sit down and eat your lunch. Like there's some, there could be some power in just like actually sitting down and eating a meal. And it's so easy to get caught up in what everybody else is telling you is the one thing. But the thing about wellness is there is not one thing that's going to be best for you. And it takes a lot of trial and error. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to try. Again, I could go on for hours about this.
Thank you both. I think that's really great advice. And I saw Brittany pop the Bounce Back program into the chat, but perhaps maybe that's another Discord channel that we can have of free resources to help with mental health, whether it's, free yoga videos or meditations or eating plans or a link to the Canada Food Guide. There's all kinds of things. And I think what we learned today, both from Jody and Ashley and from Marley, is that you got to do you. What works for you, do that. If it works, great. If it's not working, stop doing it. We're not all meant to go to the gym for a half a day. And personally, that sounds terrible. I like to go for walks. That's still activity, and that's still great. So do what's best for you.
And that checklist they had, I actually took a picture of it because that was great, because sometimes I don't even know where I'm lacking. So being able to be like, oh wait, did I even eat today? Like that's huge. So I'm going to really put that up, because as an entrepreneur, I'm so like to the point where I'm taking these classes and I'm like, do I really want to be in school right now? Like I just want to really just delve into what I'm doing with my business, that I forget about everything else, the balance of it, the whole holistic aspect of just taking care of myself.
It's a really great point. And certainly eating is very important. So make sure that one is checked off every day for sure. But I think that's a great point, having a reminder. Abby?
One thing I was gonna say, I can't remember how many of you are current Fanshawe students, but one thing that really helps me is having somebody to talk to. I use the counseling at school. I have standing like bi-weekly appointments, and I don't even think about it. It's in my schedule. I know it's happening. And it's just allowing me to verbal diarrhea and get everything out. And it's so helpful. So that's one thing I would love to suggest to all of you is having somebody to talk to and being able to bounce ideas off of in a judgment-free zone and just like get all the emotional, mental health stuff out is really helpful.
That's a really great point. And for those of you that are not current students in that new channel Jenny just set up, there are community resources for you to be able to do that, either just a phone call, or there are places that do geared to income counseling services in the city. So anyone that's aware of any of those resources, let's pop them in and just make sure that we have all these wraparound services available. All right. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We would really appreciate if you would fill in the feedback surveys, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. If you have questions that you want to ask privately, we'll be here for a few more minutes. Otherwise, have a wonderful evening. Bye, everyone.
Before you go, here's the link in case you're missing it. I'm putting it in the chat. There we go. Go right there and click it now.
It's also in the Discord channel.
Yes.
I have a question that I wanted to ask privately.
Sure.
Okay.
Like with the group or like one-on-one?
I can send you to a breakout room if you just want to talk to one of us if you'd like.
Yeah, a breakout room would work.
Cool.
Unless everyone leaves.
Why did I move you? Oh, well, everyone else left.
Okay. So in the past couple of weeks since I first initially spoke with both of you, my business has really shifted, but shifted in like it's settled in what I think I truly wanted to do in the first place. And so